helicopter arrives, and it turns out that Dr. Jenkins and David Pilcher are the same person. Knowing humanity might disappear, he saved it by creating this town with high fences and harsh rules. On one hand, he knows it's unfair. People could lose their lives just for remembering the past or being curious. On the other hand, David Pilcher saved them and gave them a chance for a brighter future. When Ethan hears that the monsters are closing in and could kill them, he agrees to get on the helicopter and leave the place with the scientist. A few hours later, Ethan, David, and the scientist's older sister, Pam, arrive at the lab that keeps the city alive. Wanting to be completely honest with his listeners, David promises to tell them everything about Wayward Pines and how it came to be. It turns out, long ago David was a scientist at a successful company. He noticed that humanity's actions were changing nature, and in turn, nature was starting to change humanity for the worse. Realizing this cycle would lead to an apocalypse, he began planning how to save civilization. But among his helpers, only Pam stood by him. She had fought and beaten her addiction to white powder. The beginning was tough, but soon investors came on board and created charitable foundations. More and more people volunteered for the project every day. Now, all these volunteers work in the lab, answering calls, holding key positions, and ensuring the city's survival. They monitor and listen, guard the borders, and do everything possible to keep people from discovering they're actually in the year 4028, and that death awaits beyond the city limits. The former sheriff, the mayor's wife, and others were all volunteers who agreed to do the dirty work. They not only became new residents of the town but also forcibly abducted people chosen by David. He admits it wasn't the right thing to do, but, thanks to him, these people were given a second chance at life. Later, Ethan decides to explore the lab and finds one of the Abbies locked up. The scientists are trying to find a way to neutralize them, but all attempts have failed. During a conversation, David admits adults can't and aren't ready to know the truth. Unlike the kids, teenagers cope better with the harsh reality and adapt faster, so all the school children are told the truth about the world outside the walls. Thousands of people are still frozen in cryo capsules in the lab, but they need someone to prepare them for life in the city. David confesses he deliberately woke Ethan up because he believes the Secret Service agent can protect humanity from external threats. Ethan thinks it might be easier to just tell everyone the truth, but David disagrees. He tried that with the first group who woke up, and they caused chaos. Some tried to escape and were eaten by monsters, while others couldn't handle the brutal reality and took their own lives. Understanding David's good intentions, Ethan promises to protect the city and its people from both external dangers and underground saboteurs. Meanwhile, Teresa learns about plot number 33. It's considered suspicious and talked about in hushed tones, like it holds some secret. At the same time, it becomes clear that Kate and her husband, along with a messenger and a few others, are underground saboteurs plotting to bring down the wall. They don't know monsters lie beyond it but still dream of returning to their old lives with their families. Moving carefully, they break into a real estate office and steal a box that belonged to the late Peter to make explosives. Harold and Kate disguise it as a music box and realize they're willing to do whatever it takes to destroy the barrier. At night, David takes Ethan home and asks him to keep what he learned today a secret. But after thinking it over all night, the new sheriff decides to tell his wife the truth. He admits their old home no longer exists, and this town is the last stronghold of civilization. Ethan says the wall can't be broken and that they have to stay here because it's now the year 4028, and monsters roam outside. But Teresa doesn't believe him. She thinks it's all nonsense and maybe his mind got scrambled in the hospital. Later, Ethan offers to drive Teresa to work and Ben to school, but then he notices something weird under the hood of his car. Telling his wife and son to go on without him, the new sheriff discovers a bomb planted there and realizes someone tried to kill him. Going through the files of all the townspeople, he finds Mr. Franklin, a former demolition engineer who could have made such a device. Meanwhile, Teresa uncovers a mysterious lot labeled number 33 and realizes there's something metallic underground, maybe a bunker. Her boss warns her to stop digging around because they're being watched, and talking about it could get them executed. Ethan meets with Franklin to talk about the bomb, but the man claims to have no memory of his past. After their meeting, Franklin secretly meets with Harold, and Ethan figures out they're partners in crime. He grabs Harold for questioning and leaves a message for Kate to meet him. Ethan has realized that his ex-lover and former partner is leading a rebellion that wants to destroy the wall. He demands the bomb be returned and tells Kate the truth about the apocalypse, but she can't accept it and thinks he's sold out, becoming part of the system. Instead of backing off, the saboteurs speed up their plan and prepare a backup with 2 bombs. Later, Kate and Harold meet with Pam to discuss why they still don't have kids. Pretending to be a perfect modern family, they promise to fix the issue. Meanwhile, Kate and Teresa run into each other in an elevator. Talking about Ethan, they agree he can't be trusted since he's now working for the system. Teresa decides to talk to her husband about it and tells him about her conversation with Kate. Ethan realizes his ex-partner is plotting something terrible and suspects an upcoming attempt to blow up the wall. At school, Ben learns from his teacher that their main goal is to start families quickly, so it's likely many students will pair off with classmates. Mrs. Fisher points out Emma and Ben as a likely couple, and she's right. They're already in love, and Emma wants to ask Ben out on a date to spend the night together. Their romantic moment is cut short when Ethan calls Ben home urgently. That night, Ethan finds a blind spot for the security cameras where the saboteurs were hiding. Threatening Kate and the others, he forces Franklin to deactivate the bomb and arrest the entire group. After talking with Kate, Ethan realizes there's still one accomplice left, a courier named Ed, who must be found and stopped. While Ethan searches for Ed, Ben sneaks out to meet Emma. The couple climbs into Ed's truck and accidentally discovers a box hiding a bomb. They start playing music and kiss nearby, but as soon as the song ends, the bomb explodes. Arriving a few moments too late, Ethan finds Emma and Ben injured at the scene. A few minutes later, Ethan drives Ben and Emma to the hospital so the doctors can take care of them. Emma has only minor injuries, but the sheriff's son is in much worse shape. The doctors will do everything they can to save him. After all, the kids are the town's top priority. David is upset about the situation and realizes that the saboteurs aren't just trying to blow up the wall, they're a direct threat to humanity. They're true terrorists who need to be dealt with not only firmly but ruthlessly. Rumors start spreading around town about what happened, but Pam suggests passing it off as a gas explosion accident and throwing a celebration for the whole community. Meanwhile, Harold and a few surviving saboteurs are hiding in the forest, continuing to plot how to destroy the wall. Some of them are too scared to see it through and sneak back into town, but not Harold. He's determined to finish the job for his fake wife and give their comrades freedom. The next morning, David, pretending to be Dr. Jenkins, goes to a cafe and notices the waitress is late and has pine branches in her hair. Suspecting she's been in the woods, he tracks her down and discovers she removed her chip. David realizes some volunteers are secretly helping people, which is how the terrorists appeared. Pam promises her brother she'll interrogate every worker but hides the fact that one of them unknowingly helped people keep their secrets. Determined to punish that person, David acts harshly. He freezes the worker in a cryo chamber and vows to tighten security so no one can ever destroy their civilization. Ethan tries to talk some sense into Kate, but it's no use. She's been treated by Dr. Jenkins but hasn't given up on her plan to leave town. Ethan knows about the monsters outside the perimeter and wishes he could show them to his former colleague, but he doesn't have time. The town is in danger, and only the sheriff can protect the people from the looming threat. Interrupting the celebration, Ethan reveals the truth about the explosion and urges everyone to return home and stay there until the streets are safe again. Mrs. Fisher visits Ben and tells him the incident happened because the sheriff was too soft and unwilling to take harsher measures. Ben argues with his dad over this, but Ethan stays in control and promises to do everything possible to keep them safe. Soon, Ethan learns that several saboteurs have stolen a massive garbage truck. Harold and another terrorist want to leave the perimeter, not just to escape but to bury one of their own on free land. While Ben and Emma spend time together, growing closer, Ethan shares with his wife something he went through back in 2001. He once made the mistake of allowing a terrorist to go free during the 9/11 attacks but swears he won't let that happen again. Heading out on a hunt, Ethan tracks down Harold, who admits he stayed in town for Kate's sake, and that his partner is unstoppable. That night, the second terrorist rams the fence with the garbage truck and breaks out of the city. He's excited to properly bury his comrade but is soon surrounded by Abby's monsters, who turn both the driver and the deceased into their prey. A few minutes later, Ethan arrives at the scene and takes down a monster that broke into the city. After instantly killing it, he hears more Abbey monsters trying to sneak under a garbage truck. Trying to stop them, the sheriff shoots the truck's tires, causing the monsters to get crushed under the heavy vehicle. Soon, specialists show up to patch up the damaged gates and prevent more monsters from invading the secured area. Meanwhile, Jason Higgins and a few other guys arrive at the police station. They're part of the new society's elite, demanding justice. They want the sheriff to execute the terrorists, but the secretary kicks them out since Ethan isn't at his desk. The next morning, Ethan finds and arrests Harold. Bringing him to the station, Ethan orders Harold to write down the names of all the underground saboteurs so he can arrest them and stop something terrible from happening. Harold is skeptical but starts listing names once he sees what the monsters did to his comrades. Ethan tries to track down the gang, but it's impossible because they removed and threw away their tracking chips. At the hospital, Ben hears the alarm. Emmy's condition suddenly worsened. She's been diagnosed with a brain hemorrhage and could die. Mrs. Fisher uses this situation to pressure Ben, pushing him to criticize the sheriff's lenient approach to criminals. Hearing that his father probably won't publicly execute the terrorists, a group of school kids storm the police station again. They break down the door and capture the secretary. Jason executes Harold and the other saboteurs. Only Kate survives, but Ethan manages to save her, arriving just in time to shoot the crazed teen. It all comes down to Ethan having to execute Kate. He doesn't want to kill his former lover, but she agrees it's the only way. She's the resistance leader, and with her gone, the others will calm down, stop hiding, and give up trying to escape. Their conversation is interrupted by Teresa, who's uncovered something important. The day before, Pam gave her the key to room 33 in the basement of the secret precinct. There, Teresa found a computer with crucial video footage. One shows Ethan's boss, who lived among the Abbey for years until David caught him. Ethan asks his wife to secretly bring as many people as possible to see the truth, that it's actually the year 4028. Monsters live beyond the fences, and David is just as evil as they are. Later, the sheriff announces he's ready to execute Kate and calls for the whole town to gather. But it's a trick. They're actually gathering everyone to reveal the truth about what's really happening around them. People start believing Ethan, but David cuts the power. He's lost faith in humanity and wants to shut down the project by killing everyone in the town. With the defenses down, David lets the monsters into the once protected area. Pam sees that 6 Abbies have already infiltrated the city, but thousands more monsters are on their way, and time is running out. She sends a message to Ethan, warning him and urging him to save the people. She also pleads with her brother to stop this madness and send guards out onto the streets to protect humanity. David, however, is disillusioned with people and driven mad by betrayal. He orders that his older sister be arrested and locked in a cryo chamber. Not everyone agrees with his decision, but they're forced to follow orders. Ethan calls for all survivors to gather at location 33 because there's a secret bunker there where they can hide. While some people rush to the meeting point, Teresa races to the hospital to save her son and his girlfriend. Meanwhile, Ethan, Kate, and a few resistance fighters head to the station to grab weapons and prepare to fight the monsters. The streets are crawling with hundreds of Abbies, slaughtering anyone they come across, biting, tearing people apart, and devouring them in a flood of blood. Ethan and the others fight back, but most of the resistance is wiped out. At the same time, the school kids manage to hide inside a bunker built into their school. David had planned for the next generation and set up protection for their survival. At the hospital, the doctor tries to turn on the generator, but an Abbey attacks and kills him. Teresa attempts to hide the children, but the monster finds her and grabs her arm. Just when it seems like the end, Ethan arrives in time to save his family by killing the monster. Soon, everyone gathers at an empty lot and enters the bunker. Mrs. Fisher can't believe David would choose to destroy humanity but realizes it's a harsh reality. She decides to stay by the bunker entrance to let other survivors in and tells them where to find the elevator that will take them up to the lab and a chance at survival. Kate and Ethan find the elevator first. They ride it up to eliminate the remaining hostile guards and restrain those who won't cooperate. Meanwhile, some soldiers realize David has lost his mind and order Pam to be thawed immediately. The rescue mission begins, but not everyone fits in the elevator. The first group goes up, but Teresa, Ben, and a few others are still stuck below. When they learn that Abbies have broken through and are closing in, the sheriff goes back down to protect his loved ones. They get into the elevator just before the monsters attack, but the power gets damaged. The elevator gets stuck, and the monsters are crawling up the shaft. Time is running out. Ethan orders everyone to climb the stairs while he stays behind with explosives. After everyone makes it to safety, he sacrifices himself by detonating the bomb, killing all the Abbies in the shaft. Ben realizes his father is gone, but as he looks down the elevator shaft, a piece of metal falls and strikes him in the head, knocking him unconscious. Meanwhile, Pam kills her own brother to restore power and save the city. In the end, Kate and Pam agree to be honest with each other and lead the city together, aiming to make it prosperous and successful. Some time later, Ben wakes up in a hospital and meets Emmy. She's a nurse but keeps her distance because they're being watched and their conversations are monitored. It turns out 3.5 years have passed since those events, and Ben has been in cryosleep all that time. The new regime wanted to execute Ben due to Ethan's weakness, but some people convinced them to spare him. After all, Ben is the face of the new generation. After escaping the hospital, Ben wanders through the city, now completely changed, just like his father once did. Wayward Pines has turned back into a closed city where breaking the laws means death, ruled by a ruthless dictatorship. Can total control ever be justified if it's the only way to ensure humanity survives? At what point does freedom turn into a threat to our future? And who has the right to take away our choices, all in the name of the greater good? Drop your thoughts in the comments down below, smash that like button, and don't forget to subscribe. Catch you in the next video.